RM Sotheby's is the world's largest collector car auction house by total sales. They are the preeminent market maker of high-quality collector cars and collections, regardless of size or complexity. By working in partnership with the Sotheby's team and its network of 80 offices in 40 countries, RM Sotheby's has established the largest client network of any collector car auction house in the world. Join the RM Sotheby's family by connecting with one of their car specialists at rmsotheby's.com or contact me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com.
All right, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. I'm excited because I've got a guest here I've been trying to get on for a while now, Jason Mans. Jason, how you doing today?
Good morning, Greg. Great to be on.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Jason's heavy in the restoration world. You can see we got some great cars around us here. And he's also heavy on the Concours show circuit. And he will come to a show with his big rig, and he'll manage cars for clients at shows. So I wanted him to be on the podcast to talk about that a little bit because I find it fairly fascinating, all the stuff he has to juggle. But first, Jason, tell us what you do.
Well, first and foremost, we restore cars, and we produce world-class, award-winning restorations. And a lot of times it's what somebody's dream is, being restoring maybe the first vehicle they learned to drive in, if it was their grandfather's truck, or whatever the case might be with a family heirloom type vehicle, all the way up to Pebble Beach winning type Concours restorations.
So we'll do a little tour here at the end of this. So if you want to see the kind of stuff that he works on, because it literally is everything. We were talking last night. You've won SEMA and you've won at Pebble Beach. So those are two vastly different types of cars. There's an incredible 69 or 70 Boss crazy resto mod they're working on. But then we've got cars like a lot of European cars here. I'm looking at a Jaguar. I'm looking at a Bugatti. I'm looking at a Riley. So you do a little bit of everything, don't you?
Yeah, and we really love the diversity, Greg. So, I know some shops or guys that are craftspeople really kind of take just to one particular brand, type, or make of car, and that's their specialty. But we really we enjoy the selection of cars and the diversity, and sometimes it's the challenge of the unknown that it's a little bit more exciting. But when you really get down to the core disciplines of auto restoration, if you know how to sew, it doesn't matter if you're sewing a custom interior in a 55 Chevy or you're sewing an authentic upholstery in a Spone. It's the same principles of crafts work. So,
yeah, speaking of which, tell us about this car behind us because I would say it's an acquired taste because it's such a wild car with such big fins, and they only made a handful of them. But tell us about, you called it a Spone?
Yeah, so Hermann Spone was a German coach builder, and dating back to pre-World War II times, and they primarily built coach work for Maybach, and through the World War II era, when they were ceased of production, their factory was saved. A lot of their craftspeople were still there to work post-war, and they built 24 custom-ordered cars, this one being one. Each were extremely unique and different and pretty outlandish, to say the least.
They are very outlandish, and if you've seen Wayne Carini's Chasing Classic Cars, he owns one of those, and it's quite a bit different in the front grille here. It almost has a double grille. I think this is a more attractive version, but this one still has the wild wings out back. And tell us, it's got a pretty impressive engine. Tell us what they powered these with.
Yeah, and so the thing about coach building is they only built the car bodies. They didn't build chassis. They didn't manufacture engines. So post-war, whenever you would order your car to be built, you had to take them a donor vehicle. And so in this vehicle's case, it was a 1940 Ford, a European spec Ford that was taken in, and this body design to put upon that chassis. But most interesting, it has a DeSoto Hemi engine in it.
A DeSoto Hemi engine in this thing. So we'll get a shot of that here in a second. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's probably I don't know, of the 24 or so, it might be the coolest powered one, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that time, in 1952, it was, that was a big marketing push, the Fire Dome engine, the power. And so it kind of goes with the jet propulsion theme of the rear tail fin and the center exhaust port looking
Yeah, this would make for a great Batmobile.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, I do want to get to the Concours show circuit here, but how do people learn more about you and your business if they want a car restored here?
Yeah, we do have a website. You can go on the internet and mansrestoration.com, and you can contact us directly through there. There are links there to our email, to our telephone. And of course, we have a pretty strong social media presence with YouTube and Facebook. We regularly post updates and photos and things that are going on.
So I'm going to tell you guys a little secret here that I figured out last night. What most people know, or maybe they don't realize this, is East Coast, West Coast, those restoration shops are pretty full and they charge a ton of money. And I'm finding out now, Jason might not want me to say this, but he's getting West Coast, East Coast business because they realize the quality of work he does here, and it's a very fair price and the timing's great. So you're like this little hidden gem that people are finding more and more about, right?
Yeah, and we seem to be, halfway to everywhere.
Halfway to everywhere.
Right in the middle of the country. And so, we attend a lot of Concours events on both coasts and around, and we offer a personal service like that where we cater to clients' special needs with cars.
So if you're tired of 3-year waits and $165 an hour charges, give Jason a call.
We have a wonderful, wonderful team of craftspeople here that, for one, they take their job very seriously, but they really just truly love doing what they do. And there are really not that many places in the Midwest that would have a supercharged Bugatti or a coach-built Spone in their possession. So when they get to employ their skills on vehicles of this caliber, it truly is an honor.
Yeah, and I noticed last night, I got here like at 5:30 or so and left here about 6:30 or so, and you still had a crew working on that boss over there, and I'm like, do you guys always work this late? And you said, no, we just gave them an opportunity for overtime for a particular project. So those guys were all about it, and they were working hard last night. That was really cool to see. So I feel like, the work you do is so necessary to the collector car hobby. I feel like you guys are not recognized as much as I feel like you should be. Any of the restoration shops that do world-class work. And so if you've listened to my Octane FM, I do these fun AI songs. Well, here's one I created specifically for folks like Jason who have these businesses. So this is only 30 seconds. I'll put the whole thing at the end. It's called Showstopper. So check this one out.
Rolled in on a flatbed, wheels hanging low, dust-covered dreams from decades ago. Chrome all fade, paint long gone, but under that rust was a heart holding on. They said she's a basket case, but I saw more, a whisper of a man's and old Concours lore. So I left her with the masters, wrenches in hand, in a shop where legends are born from the sand. Now she's a showstopper.
We talked last night, you did 14 Concours events last year. Kind of run down, you don't have to tell all 14 of them, but give our listeners an idea of what kind of shows were you attending last year with client cars?
Yeah, and so, really a lot of these Concours events, some of the Concours events are, with global prestige and really carry just a dramatic amount of professionalism and what I would call competition at the highest of standards. And there's certainly always a lot of pressure to perform at those types of events, and so sometimes it's just a fun journey that you build this relationship with the client as you restore the car, and you bond over these experiences, and so whenever you're taking the car out to present it to the Concours world, that's the icing on the cake after all the hard work is done, and that's when the real fun starts to begin.
So how do you do that? I mean, so what's one of your first shows? How do you coordinate that with your clients? You've got all these clients, maybe 2 or 3 want to show this year, so you're taking 2 or 3 cars. How do you coordinate that? Do you say, okay, we're going to go to Arizona first in January, we're taking these 2 cars, you do all the transportation, logistics, how does that work?
Yeah, we do, and sometimes the schedules do overlap. In some cases we have to split up our team and different trucks going to different shows on the same weekends, and it can get a little bit challenging. And every year we kind of plan out the next show season, pretty much a year in advance. We start looking at what cars are coming into completion and communicating with our customers of the shows that they would personally like to attend. Sometimes we recommend shows. Sometimes Concours chairmen will contact us looking for specific types of vehicles, if they're looking to have a featured mark or whatnot. So in many cases, we kind of become a resource for some of the Concours events to bring significant cars to their show fields.
Yeah, and we actually met, ironically, at Greenbrier. Was it Greenbrier?
Greenbrier, yes.
It was Greenbrier, and my wife and I were in our car, rental car, and this Duesenberg goes flying by us. I'm like, oh, there's a Duesenberg. So I decided to follow the Duesenberg to a Dollar General store, right? So I got a picture of a Duesenberg in the Dollar General store, and I think I met you guys in the parking lot.
We might be the only people that drove a Duesenberg to a Dollar General, possibly.
It made for a great picture, I must say. But why were you going to the Dollar General store?
Well, it was a multi-function drive there. We were doing a little bit of a test drive for an issue a customer had noticed with that car. And so we were going to check that out. And then upon arriving there at Greenbrier, Mike, whom, travels with me a lot, and needed a few travel supplies, so we did two things at once.
Let's take the Duesenberg.
Yeah.
Right, okay. All right, so you're mapping out the show season, you're talking to your customers, your clients, and I noticed some of your clients go with you almost everywhere, it seems like.
Yeah, they really do, and so that's what I'm talking about, relationship building, and the bond that you create. These cars are personal.
Yeah.
They really mean something to people, whether it was their lifelong dream to have a 1935 SS1 airline. It's really, really something that is personal.
Right.
And so whenever you can connect with somebody and kind of share that same passion and interest, you can really bond.
Because you're spending a lot of time with some of your clients, right? Because I know some clients even travel with you at times, right?
Yeah, we've had several.
So you're talking days together with a client, so you're definitely building the relationship, right?
Yeah, I had who I consider a fantastic friend and mentor and customer, all wrapped in one. And he traveled with me for 2 weeks in my semi across the country. So that's that's being really good friends.
Right. Okay. All right. And so when you schedule the Concours show circuit, some of them are because cars were requested. Some of them are, I would assume, some of them are goals your client wants. Your client might say, hey, I want to show at Pebble Beach. Maybe it's not that level. They want to show at another show. So that kind of maps out your calendar for the year? It
absolutely does. And most of these Concours events are held at a destination. So there's a location that's wrapped in with the car show as well. So
right.
And sometimes the regions that the shows are held in might have a lot of other tourist type interest, that, take for example, Newport Audrain, and going to Newport in the fall is beautiful, and touring all the mansions on Bellevue and some of the other historic buildings and things in that region. It's kind of an added value to just car showing.
Okay, yeah, and I know when you're there, you're always working, right? So people might think, oh, this is quite a gig. You're just going to Concours, hanging out, going to the parties, that kind of stuff. But you're working. Like, you've got to keep the cars clean, running, functional. You got to get them on the show field at 5 a.m. or whatever it may be. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, of course, we always have fun doing what we're doing. I mean,
yeah.
we love doing this, but it is work whenever you're, even just the travel, and whenever you are transporting precious, in some cases, many millions of dollars of vehicles in our trailer that don't belong to me.
Right.
The care of driving and paying attention it's constant focus, and and once you finally make it to your destination, then there is of course car prep and coordinating with schedules and times and.
And networking. I mean, obviously, you're trying to get clients when you're at a show. So presenting a car that wins best of show or best of class is a great business card, right, to meet new potential clients?
That is the way, you know, and so whenever you can be recognized for quality workmanship and care and taking care of people, taking care of their cars, you know, that you have to look at what kind of sets you apart, what makes you different from the competition. And so our sort of Concours concierge service is part of that.
So I will say one of your biggest, literally biggest calling cards is your truck. So tell us about your big hauler. What is that thing? That thing's massive.
Yeah, I think it has a reputation of its own. It's pretty recognized. But you know, in years past, you know, Mike and I used to travel the country in a dually pickup with a trailer, and you know, countless hours and hotels and truck stops, and you know, living out of a pickup truck. And we had dreamt of how nice it would be to have one of those semi-haulers and a big trailer, and you know, and so through evolution of business and just working to achieve it. And being a classic car lover, we got a vintage Kenworth truck. You know, I say vintage, it's a 1984, but it's pre-computerized.
Right.
You know, so
right.
it's right up our alley. And so the semi itself has a massive RV body built onto it, and you know, so it's like a home on wheels. It has a full kitchen, bathroom, showers, bunks, and everything that you need to live on the road. I think we have over 200 gallons of fresh water on board, so we can go for great times, great distances.
That is quite a calling card. When I go to Concours events, I'm like, oh, Jason and Mike are here.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a good-looking rig, and it really stands out. And yeah, it's cool to see that. So you mentioned you did 14 Concours events last year, or shows, and you were hoping last year was a little quieter, but it ended up not being. So what does this year look like? You're already, obviously, this is, you know, coming into June, already quite busy, I would assume.
Yeah, it's been a pretty busy season thus far. You know, we looked like it was going to be a little bit less than last year, just due to some of the cars that had attended all the remaining shows that they were set to do. We have several cars that are coming out later this year, so it kind of gave us a little bit of a break midsummer.
Well, I know I'll see you at the Cincinnati Concours. What cars are you bringing there?
Yeah, really looking forward to Cincinnati. And you know, we enjoy Cincinnati Concours. The whole layout of the event is just a really good time, and for us it's close.
Right.
You know, which is an added value. But we'll have a few vehicles there. You know, they're featuring you know, European automobiles. So we'll have a 1935 Riley MPH.
Right behind us.
It'll make its debut there after being refreshed, and we have another 1935 SS1 Airline and a 1925 Norton 495 motorcycle with a Swallow sidecar.
Right.
Which the Swallow sidecar was the origin story of Jaguar.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, talk to that a little bit. So they started as a sidecar maker, which was Swallow sidecar, which was
Yes, correct.
SS, which after World War II, or before World War II, I think, they changed it to Jaguar, right?
Yeah, and I think it's somewhere in the 1938 range where they brought in the Jaguar name to the SS100, and so after the war that just kind of stuck. That became the
Of course,
brand
SS,
image.
Nazis, not a good look. Let's change.
They weren't going to sell many cars in Europe with the SS name.
Right, okay, all right. Well, okay, so after Cincinnati, what do you have? I think you said you might be doing Audrain later.
Yeah, Audrain's going to be fun. We have a fresh debut restoration that's going to be unveiled there, and some wonderful, wonderful people, clients that own this car. It's a true car that's been in their family since the early 60s.
Wow,
And,
yeah, we
one
can't
of the
say what it
brothers
is yet.
Drove it to college, so you know, it's a fantastic story. So.
Yeah, and what other shows can they find you at?
Oh, we'll be at Pebble Beach in Canada. We'll be at San Marino and south of, well, the week after Pebble Beach. Of course, we'll be in Monterey. We'll be in Hilton Head the first week in November. So there's quite a few shows that are stacked up for later on this summer.
All right, so stay tuned. We might do a little shop tour here. Want to see the truck. Listen to the end for the Octane FM song, and let's, harass Jason on the road when you're at one of these Concours events. Tell him that you saw him on the Collector Car podcast. You ready for a walk around?
Let's do it.
All right. All right, Jason, so we're going to do a little shop tour here. I got to talk about this 55 Chevy back here. This thing is unbelievable. Beautiful car. And I was looking at it last night, and I'm not a huge kind of resto mod guy, but this one is done so well. And I love the details because you guys did this great script here. The Wicked Nickel in the same script as Chevrolet, is that right?
As the Bel Air, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it was even important to the owner that we used the original holes where the emblem attached.
Right.
So it's you could take the Wicked Nipple off and put a Bel Air on.
And could you pop the hood for a second? Because this engine's just
I'd
nuts.
love to. So what we have under the hood is an LSX 454 with a Hillborn 8-stack fuel injection.
Isn't that gorgeous? And this looks like it has AC, power steering, power brakes, the works, right?
Yeah, all the works, of course. All the creature comforts, and for brakes we like to use the Hydro Boost system versus a vacuum.
And I know it has a really nice custom interior to it, so just a beautiful, beautiful build. And I don't want to talk about all these cars because that would take forever, but let's look at you said Spone?
Yeah, 1952 Spone, built in Ravensburg, Germany.
You have to look
by
at
an Air Force serviceman that had it custom ordered. And a really fun story behind the car. It was in Chicago, and in the 1950s, the man that owns this car saw it when he was about 8 years old and just absolutely fell in love with the car. It was sitting out front of an auto body shop, and it was used as basically as an advertisement. And he had chased this car his whole life.
Wow.
And finally was able to purchase it out of California, like 40 years later. And so it's being restored in all of its original colors, authentic, even the red oxide primer in the undercarriage. And
well, you can see why it would be a great Batmobile because you got the spot right there for the jet engine coming out, And it's got the DeSoto Hemi engine in it. So what will the interior color be?
it's green, two-tone greens.
Oh, wow.
Two-tone green leather. Yeah, and it has a really interesting, almost like, say, a disappearing top. So it does have a rear seat, but there is a metal panel that completely conceals it, so it looks like a true two-seat roadster.
Oh, wow. I was wondering about that because of this structure right here. I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty interesting last night. Well, cool. All right. Well, here's the Riley that will be at the Cincinnati Concours. And I just mentioned to you how I don't know how people can fit in these things. I mean, I'm not a little British guy, but man, I think I would be hugging that steering wheel, honestly. But tell us about this car. The engine I know is special.
Yeah, so the Riley, the MPH was, this was a factory-built race car, and they raced the TT circuits back in the day in the Brooklands and pre-war England. And so, in the class that the Riley ran was limited to 2-liter. So they took their 2-liter 4-cylinder engine and did everything they possibly could to make it fast. So it's a dual overhead cam. It's a crankshaft-driven supercharger with
Supercharger way down there.
way down in the bottom with a massive SU carb hanging over the top of it, and it's got like race-inspired header exhaust.
Wow.
So it was a pre-selector coil transmission. It was built to boogie. Ultra lightweight, very thin aluminum skin.
Now you can see the diversity of your offerings here. So we've got a Bugatti there that's being worked on, and one of my favorites, a 70 Mach 1 Mustang that looks like it's going to be a very nice, slightly modded. I think it's Willwood brakes on it. Yeah, nicely done car. And you said this is one you got from another shop, and you're kind of fixing other shops.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. There's, with the popularity of building hot rods and custom cars, restorations, is a lot of shops that attempt it and sometimes are not successful. So it's often we get a project in that was, failed somewhere else, and we kind of pick up the pieces and get it completed for them.
Yeah, it looks like a nice Solid car, solid floor plans and everything. Well, you got a bunch of other cool stuff back there, but I don't need to talk about every single car. They have to come here and see it for themselves. You want to go outside and take a look? Okay, we're in yet another building, and you see some very cool cars here, including this award-winning Bentley. And this is which electric car?
Roush and Lang.
Roush and Lang, all right. So a little bit of everything here, all right.
You know, in this part of the body shop, we have a 1930 V16 convertible that's
Cadillac?
yes, yeah, Cadillac. It's being restored, and it's being done to a high standard for competition at Pebble Beach. We have the original build sheet, so it's a numbers matching, all original car.
Okay, awesome.
And right next to it being worked is a very rare one of two Fernandez and Darren bodied Delage D8S.
Wow, that's going to be gorgeous when it's done. Do we want to skip that car, or you want to?
Yeah, we can skip that one just because it's...
We'll skip that one. And then we've got this, like a family hot rod that's been recommissioned somewhat, right?
Yeah, yeah, fun story. So the man that owns this was his grandfather's car. Obviously, it didn't look like that back when his grandfather drove it every day. It was just a stock Model A Ford. But it's something that he and his father built, and a true family heirloom.
Oh, cool. All right, so here's the Boss. Now this is being heavily modified, correct?
Yes, this is. So this is a 69 Mustang Fastback that's sat upon a Roadster Shop full frame chassis. That gives it some amazing stability and rigidity for a performance type driving. You can see it has massive 14-inch bare brakes. And
can you uncover the incredible engine here?
yeah, this engine is just absolutely amazing. This is engineered and built by John Kazi Racing Engines. It's a Boss 572.
Oh man, as if you don't get enough horsepower out of a nice LS engine. Look at this thing. Wow. So this will be like a SEMA
Yes.
debut one day?
Yeah, it's got some... for certain, it is engineered and built to drive. Driving enjoyment, there's a lot of things, you know, with the big high horsepower engine, a lot of things that the owner has envisioned to help for keeping the car cool for, you know, regular road driving.
Right.
So it's going to have some fantastic heat extraction devices and incorporated to the whole overall build.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see this one when it's done. All right, Jason, so you have a really special car kind of tucked away in the back here. Tell us about this Jaguar.
And this is a fascinating history. So this is a 1951 factory works lightweight race car built for Le Mans. It was essentially the backup car for the C-Type, which debuted in 1951 and won Le Mans. So the car was not used, and the U.S. importer of Jaguar, Charles Hornberg, brought the car to the United States and was campaigned by Phil Hill, and it raced at Monterey at the Pebble Beach races and went on to several different wins through several different drivers.
Wow.
It's very well preserved and is ready for a authentic Concours restoration.
So now, what would this have been back in the day?
So what we did initially was removed all the layers of paints and primers to get down to the base substrate, which is a magnesium alloy.
That's right. Yeah, it's a magnesium alloy, also known as Electron.
This is the actual original paint.
Oh, wow.
So we saved this for our color matching purposes.
Wow, so those that don't know, Electron has more magnesium, higher magnesium, right?
Correct.
And it's more difficult to weld. But this has not as bad as the old Bugatti Atlantics, which the famous Airleaf burst into flames apparently, and that's why the Atlantics had riveted spines just to commemorate that prototype that had the Electron magnesium body panels. So very rare body panels here. I mean, the fact that
So these were coach built by Abbey Panels. It's on a stock XK120 chassis, but the body is just a silhouette of a XK120 and very thin skin, and the body's actually sat on the chassis lower than a stock XK120 would be, and it's unitized. There are no separate removable panels. The rear fenders are all a molded in part of the body. There's no boot lid. It's just a lift-off hood.
Yeah, I didn't notice that till just now. Yeah, this is all one piece, this whole thing here. That's amazing. Wow.
You know, a typical Jaguar XK120, the hood, for one, would come back way further, and then it seams right here and would open up with the grille as a part of it. And so that is just all a one-piece body with a simple lift-off type hood.
Well, I can't wait to see this when this one's done. Awesome. All right, so now we're in the upholstery shop, and what a car to walk in on, right? What year is this?
Yeah, this is a 1932 Model J Duesenberg, bodied by Legrand, dual cal Phaeton.
Yeah, I was asking you yesterday, so this would obviously be down when you're driving, right? And I was wondering about that. Yeah, when would you use that? So they're little, it's vanity. Oh,
Let's try the other one.
Yeah, try the other one. So they're little vanity mirrors, but you obviously have to only use them when they're up. Yeah, that's hilarious. So right before you get out of the car, you lift this up so you can get out, obviously, and then you can, you know, check your face. So this is period colors. And could you show me that, was it a book or a poster?
Yes.
Yeah, where's that? Because that was from a long time ago. Very cool car. You can see a jack here. Yeah, so what is this? This is a picture of this Duesenberg.
Yeah, St. Louis Post-Dispatch newspaper had this car on their cover back in about 1953. The car was brought to St. Louis for a classic car club meet. And so it was really fun to repeat this some 50 years later.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so there it is back then. And here it is today. How soon will this be out the door, you think?
It's very close to going home. We're in the middle of making some new side curtains and a convertible top boot, and then
it's out the door.
a few little, just a few little final touches, and then some good detailing work, and it'll be ready to be delivered.
And you mentioned how usually these trunks are usually covered with fabric, correct?
Yeah, and so I think it's really rare to have one that's in natural wood like this.
Yeah.
You know, it is the original trunk to the car, but like you mentioned, this is typically always covered with the canvas or stay faster. I've even seen some that were in leather. You'll see some that are actually wrapped with metal and they're painted to match the body.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's cool to see it in natural wood finish for sure.
Rolled in on a flatbed, wheels hanging low, dust-covered dreams from decades ago. Chrome all fade, paint long gone, but under that rust was a heart holding on. They said she's a basket case, but I saw more, a whisper of a man's and old Concours lore. So I left her with the masters, wrenches in hand, in a shop where legends are born from the sand. Now she's a showstopper, center stage glow, Pebble Beach shine with that old school soul. Frame off magic, panel gap tight, every bolt torque just right by the midnight light. It takes more than money, it takes heart and pride to bring steel and soul back to life. Craftsmen with calipers, stitching the seams, matching the leather to long-lost dreams. Hammering dolly bare metal finesse, chasing perfection with every process. Engine torn down, blueprinted with care, so she roars like the devil with class and flair. No shortcuts taken, no detail ignored, just blood, sweat, and torque in that old Ford. She's a showstopper, Concours queen. Judges lean close just to see what they mean. Mirror beneath her, reflections don't lie. They see decades of skill in a single headlight. It's more than repair. it's art, it's pure connection. English wheel curves to paint laid deep, to old school tricks they still swear to keep. Every touch, every thread, every chrome line is a tribute to time and the hands that define. She's a showstopper, best in class, from a barn to the lawn with a touch of badass. Trophy in hand, but it's more than that. It's the soul of the builder under every badge. 'Cause winning ain't luck, it's years of lore in that little shop behind the corrugated door. So here's to the ones with the patience and grit, who take broken dreams and recommit restoring more than just steel and chrome. They bring the past back home.